Welcome to The Road Reflected with Nicole Wakelin. Automotive from the lighter side. That means cars, but also cookies, coffee, and pie. Up first, what's Nicole behind the wheel of this week?
Okay, everything we're talking about this week is electrified.
Ooh, that seems like a theme lately.
Yeah, it's a thing. And I don't know if it's so much that the world really wants electric cars or that some people in the world really want us to want electric cars.
Yes, there's definitely a forcing function.
Yes, there's a forcing function with all the sorts of incentives and different things they've done.
Right.
So that means we get a lot of electrified, which could be hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and fully electric vehicles. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Volvo S60 Recharge.
This was a cool looking Volvo.
Yeah, so the Recharge, anything Recharge in the Volvo lineup, it's the plug-in hybrids or the Recharge. Everybody has their own fancy ways of, designating.
How to tell if it's electric or not.
Right, so this is the plug-in hybrid. So it's not fully electric, plug-in hybrid, which means it's electrified.
Yeah.
Okay, lingo, like language is important.
Yeah.
So this is an electrified vehicle. It's a sedan, really comfy, beautiful sedan.
Also cool looking. Some manufacturers, for a while, it was a theme to make your electric vehicle look as crazy and weird as possible. So at a glance, you could be like, that's some kind of new, different thing. And now, since everything's kind of being electric nowadays, it seems like they're going a little more stylish again. And this thing was like, I don't know, is murdered out the right term? Black.
You can say
black,
that.
Black.
What it actually is, this one has a package that's actually available on a bunch of different Volvos.
Yeah.
And it's the black edition. Ooh. And it does exactly what that would say. It makes the black edition has a blacked out grille. The wheels are black.
The logo's black.
Yep, there's black badging. And inside, and I love this, it gets this fancy gear shift inside. Yeah. It still works the same. It doesn't work any differently than any other, gear shift in the S60 with or without this package. But it's made with Orfor's crystal. Orfor's is like a Swedish company.
Right.
And crystal, it looks really cool. And you glance at it and you're like, oh, that's kind of funky. It's like glass or it's plastic. No. It's crystal. It's Orfor's crystal. Which made me think of years ago, the first time I ever drove an Aston Martin at an event it was at, and it had this really fancy key fob. And the key fob had a piece on the top that was crystal. I don't remember which kind. It was like this crystal. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And no one's like, yes, that's actually crystal. Is it really? Yes. I'm like, wow, that seems like an expensive thing to do to key fob. She's like, yes, the key fob would cost $10,000 to replace. It's like, oh, dear Lord.
Oh, well.
And there's a little spot you go to. I'm like, let's put that key fob right in there. Let's not touch the key fob. I've never been so careful with a key fob in my entire life.
I know, because the key fob is like in your pocket all the time.
You drop those things all the time, right?
Yeah, you kind of want it to be durable and not feel like you're losing $1 million.
Right, 10,000. I mean, I guess if you're buying an Aston Martin, you don't care, but still, 10 grand on a key fob.
Yeah, I know.
So, but this was the gear shift, so you're not likely to drop your gear shift. Something's gotten terribly wrong beyond that if you're dropping a gear shift.
But the car does not scream electric; it screams performance, cool, fun.
Yeah, so it doesn't look like a plug-in hybrid. No. It looks like it just looks like a regular sedan, which is kind of nice. Like the days of making things look. Like even, when everything had a little green flower or something, there was a time when you wanted to scream that, and not so much anymore. So it looks beautiful from the outside. There's 3 trims in this lineup of vehicles. I had the Ultimate, which sits at the top of the lineup, means it's the fancy pantsist of Volvo S60 Recharges.
Fancy pantsist.
Fancy pantsist, official term. So this, even if you don't get the top one, the lineup starts at $53,000, just about. So it's in that luxury pricey territory.
It's already at a price point that's a little bit rarefied.
Right. And to get this one without the black edition thing on there, it's $58,000.
Okay.
So you're looking at almost $60,000 you're spending on a car.
On this thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're spending a chunk of change, but it absolutely feels like you're spending $60,000.
Right.
I mean, it's not cheap, but it comes with a ton of features.
Yeah, it feels like a cool car.
Yeah. And first you get the plug-in hybrid thing. So you have 31 miles of all electric range on this.
See, I as someone who owns a plug-in hybrid, I have to say this is a pretty cool feature. It's sort of the best of both worlds, because you can basically drive around your neighborhood, drive around your home, make that grocery run, drop the kids off at school. If your work is nearby, go there, come back, and never use a drop of gas.
Right.
Because you get home, as long as you got a plug in at home, you just charge it back up again, you're good to go. But then if you want to go on a road trip, want to go up to the White Mountains to look at the leaves changing in autumn,
which they are today,
your super cool black Volvo, you don't have to worry about what if there's no chargers in the middle of nowhere, New Hampshire, right? Like you can just drive as much as you want and put gas in there. So there's no range anxiety, but you're also no emissions, saving money when you're staying local.
Yes. Exactly. So, I mean, it's the best of both worlds. I feel like, the standard hybrid, it improves your fuel economy, but not the way this does, where you can literally drive it in electric mode around town and never.
Right. You can go out, come back, and never use a drop of gas.
Right. You just plug it in when you get home. I like plug-in hybrids. People are really like half and half on them. Some people really think that's a great idea because it does exactly what you said. It lets you drive around town for short distances in EV mode without ever having to worry or think about where you're going to charge. Right. Because you can just charge it, plug it in when you get home, and you drove almost your entire day's errands just as an electric. And then on road trips, you don't have to worry about it, because really that's when EVs, kind of true electric vehicles, they're still a challenge.
They're hard on a road trip.
You can't deny it. On a road trip,
you have to work on the road trip.
You have to work. It's not like you can't. It's not like they're terrible, but you have to work it a little bit. So I like plug-in hybrids for that. I think it gets you used to sort of plugging in your car. Right. It gets you used to the idea of having apps for the, whatever charging networks are in your area, like Electrify America or EVgo or any of those different charging apps, because you have apps on your phone to do it. It gets you used to sort of living in the electric vehicle realm without having to totally give up the comfort and the convenience of being able to use a gas engine when you want to use a gas engine.
Exactly.
And I like that. What I really like, in addition to how cool it looks on the outside of the S60 Recharge, inside this is a beautiful car. It has beautiful seating surfaces. It looks very high tech. It has a 12-inch digital instrument cluster. There's a head-up display. There's a 9-inch vertical infotainment touchscreen that's like tablet style. Instead of left, right, it's that tablet style. I like the idea of it, but it sounds weird, but 9-inch touchscreen is not very large anymore. Yeah,
it felt a little small-ish to me. I mean, Volvo's got the interiors down. They've had it down forever. Volvo interiors have always felt very plush, very nice. But yeah, this felt it didn't feel dated. Like the interior of this Volvo looked really modern, really nice. It was just the screen felt a little small, and I felt like some of the touch targets, because the screen was smaller, were a little tricky to get, particularly around the climate control.
Yeah, so you can expand it. So it was kind of like the way it was at the bottom, there was controls, and you could tap it and it would expand a little.
Right.
So then you could easily use it. But even just trying to hit that tap to expand.
But now it's distracted driving. And the thing is, I think a lot of people have this down, but when you're driving, your car's not exactly smooth. You're bouncing around, not because it doesn't have good shocks. It's just that's how driving works. And if you don't hit exactly right and your finger moves a little bit and you miss it, now you've missed it, and now you're staring down trying to find the right place to press. You're distracted.
I wasn't a huge fan of how the infotainment is set up. So that was sort of the drawback.
That was the only ding, because otherwise this is an amazing vehicle.
And it's got heated seats, and it has. And here's the thing, and I never know. You're tall. You're over 6 feet, so I don't know how you feel about these, but it has they call it a cushion extender. I always think of it as a thigh extender, because it's a little piece that's sort of right behind your knees, and it comes out to extend. I feel like it's additional thigh support if you're especially tall, so your leg, the edge of the seat doesn't dig into your thigh. Instead, it's. Do you ever try? Do you play around with those?
I do. Because I imagine
actually find them useful.
I kind of feel like it's sort of an ottoman, but you can't have an ottoman in your car. It's got that ottoman vibe, like it extends the seat.
So you like having that?
I actually do. As someone who's tallish, I think I found the car very comfortable. I felt all the adjustments to be right, and that's important because in cars, sometimes a lot of times in sedans, they for some reason for a taller person in the passenger side, it's not super comfortable. But this car was very comfortable.
So you have plenty of room at your 6'3"
I did. I was no complaints.
Okay. See, I use the thigh. I always find the thigh thing kind of weird. If whoever's dropped off the car was tall and had it out, I sit down and I'm like, why is the back of the seat, why is the bottom of the seat digging into behind my kneecaps, until I realize wait, I can bring that back a little bit. So it's very cool. So what's neat though, okay, you drive the car, use it. I drive the car, I don't use it. It's something you can just adjust back so you don't have to. But I think it's kind of a neat feature.
Yeah.
It's like one of those luxury things. Does the seat back power adjust? Sure. Do you have power lumbar? Sure.
Yeah.
Do you have a power, bottom seat? Yes. Do you have a power thigh extender?
Right. Just one more, just to one up everybody. I have a crystal gear shift and a power thigh extender.
Right. So then you're fancy. Does your car have that?
Murdered out logo.
Right. It's the coolest of cool cars, and it's a Volvo.
Yeah. It is. They've come a long way since Boxy But Good. It's a really
boxy but good. They look nothing like the boxy but good. Now they're quite fun. I really enjoyed driving them, and this was nice to have for a week. It was quiet. It was smooth. It was comfortable. We just
I had to look at
it
twice
because
when I was sitting in the driveway. I was like, wow, that is a badass looking car in the driveway. I'm like, oh my God, is that a Volvo?
I know. I just thought that about a Volvo.
No, it's like
What's
the Batmobile.
gone wrong
it looks
here?
like the Batmobile. It's really cool. It does.
The Batmobile of luxury cars.
The plug-in hybrid Batmobile.
I feel like that would be. They just need the Dark Knight music playing in the background.
They do.
Okay, everyone, if you like what you're hearing, then go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe either on YouTube or your favorite podcatcher, and make sure to leave us a review because we love to get reviews on the good ones. Keep the bad things
positive
to
reviews
yourself.
on iTunes.
Yes, we love to have those. So we're going to talk another vehicle that's electrified, but this one is 100% purely
all electric all the time.
all electric all the time. If you don't want an electric car, then you want to skip this segment because it's electric.
Right.
So it's the Kia EV9, which is...
Does that imply there were 8 more before it?
There's a 6.
Okay.
There's
we just skip even numbers? Is that what's happening here?
I don't, actually...
Even. How are they? Yeah. How are they deciding these numbers?
Well, normally numbers in any of them, like, they go up as they get bigger. So I don't know. Does this leave us a 7 and 8 in the middle?
Were there 7 and 8s that were like... didn't work out in testing?
So we've got EV6 and we got EV9. Okay. And they don't always tell you what the heck they're doing. In fact, they're doing some stuff this week where they're flying some people to Korea to show some people their newest upcoming electric stuff. So maybe that's where 7 and 8 are.
Okay.
But either way, we had the EV6, and the EV6 was actually really great.
It was a nice car.
Yeah, and you've been in that. We've had that as a loan a couple of times. And in fact, that one won the North American Utility of the Year.
That does not surprise me. Every time you get a Kia, I'm impressed.
I know, you always like them.
Kia is just, they got the affordability, but the nice down, and they're reliable. They just have it all down.
Exactly. So them introducing the EV9, I kind of think they're really hoping that they could do that again, like make it a 2 in a row. And they could, because we have the way we whittle down the vehicles for North American Car, Truck, and Utility of the Year. It's a process. Like everybody who has a car can be in it. Then we whittle it down to the best of. The best of comes 3 finalists in each category and then a winner. They're in the top. Currently they're in the top 10. Nice. So there's 10 vehicles going for a utility, and it's one of the 10. So it has a solid chance. You know, it could get there. We do another drive in October before we announce, or the end of this October before we announce who the 3 finalists are. So they could do it. This is a great car. It as much as you like the EV6, you're going to find the 9 does all the same things but better and bigger because it's bigger. I'm jealous
I haven't got a chance to see it yet.
At some point you will. They'll eventually end up one.
Now, did I fib when I said it was affordable?
No, you didn't fib when you said it's so official pricing on the full lineup isn't out yet. Oh. It's going to be like 50,000 plus.
Okay.
Well, so like in the same, right. So, but
it's
like
full EV. So that,
it's an electric vehicle. It's fully electric. It's going to seat 6 to 7 people. So you can get captain's chairs in the second row or a bench seat, depending on what you want. So it's, it's a family EV. So that kind of money for a family vehicle and an EV. And because it's Kia, they tend to make even their base trims of their cars tend to not look like garbage. Like some OEMs still, if you get the cheapest version of their vehicle, you're like, wow. Now, I cheaped out.
Is the 9 technically you said captain's chair, so is the 9 technically a minivan or
no? It's an SUV. Okay. A minivan has to have the sliding doors.
We had this conversation before.
It's not a minivan.
So no sliding doors.
No, it's not even close to a minivan.
Seats 6.
Up to 7. You
can
have
7.
So 3-row SUVs or 3-row SUVs that seat that many, but they don't have sliding doors.
I'm
not
always
a minivan.
confused by this. I apologize.
I know.
Listeners. I know you've heard this conversation before. But
minivan.
I get very confused by this situation.
Does it have regular doors?
And then don't get me started on crossovers versus SUVs.
Oh no, we're all confused about that. That's like that's like tomato. Okay. But minivan SUV is not just sliding door.
Got it.
Not sliding doors.
I should have asked. Does it have a sliding door?
There you go. It does not. Okay. So it's got through us seating. We had a chance. I saw this really early before they brought it over here in Korea. They sort of did a preview and we got to see it in Korea, and we caught it, which was really cool, and got a lot of a first look at some stuff they're doing that we can't share exists yet, like stuff I can't say I saw. But then they brought us all over because it's up for North American Car Truck of the Year, the Utility of the Year. They brought a whole bunch of us to drive it at their proving grounds out in California, where it was 9 zillion degrees.
Yeah, California.
Oh my gosh. And it's in a desert because, of course, tracks, you want a big open space. You don't want it to
California has deserts that are big and open.
Oh my gosh. So so it was in the middle of nowhere, but it was totally worth it to get a chance to really drive this.
Super cool.
It was very cool. And they had different courses. They had a thing for us to sort of experience the acceleration and the regenerative braking and do like a sort of little handling course with some fun little orange cones so you could see how well it handles, all of which it does beautifully. There's nothing in there that it does that you're like, no, nothing failed. It was good. It still feels like an SUV. SUVs are not sports cars, but it still handles beautifully. It's very comfortable. It's very quiet. I like how they've done this screen setup. So it's one giant display, like one panel, but there's a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster on the left, a 12.3-inch infotainment touchscreen on the right, and in the middle, I don't know. I don't have the size in that. I'm going to say a couple of inches, maybe 2 inches, 3 inches. There's a tiny little one that's HVAC. In addition to the controls that you have elsewhere.
Right.
But it makes for one nice.
It's got that like feeling of an entire display all the way across.
Exactly.
Like
it's
Star
just,
Trek.
Yeah. And it doesn't go like door to door. It goes, from the typical instrument cluster spot, slightly from the left to where your infotainment. Yeah. It looked really good. The only thing I noticed is that I guess this is going to depend very much on how you adjust your seating, but the steering wheel is a little bit in that middle screen. Like, because it comes down, right? It has to come somewhere.
I really want to see
So
this
depending on where you sit, it's either kind of covering it or maybe it's the left or right, or if you're tall enough.
Okay.
But still, I loved it. And one of the things, aside from it being just, it was beautiful to drive, it's really fun. They let us do something really kind of cool. So there's lots of vehicles that have hands-free driving, right? Driver assistance stuff. There's Blue Cruise from Ford. There's Super Cruise from GM. I'm a big fan of the Super Cruise. It's really good. Everybody has driver assistance technology. Nothing is self-driving really yet. They will tell you, like, you have to still have a driver paying attention.
Keep an eye out. It'll help you, but
even if
don't read
it's
a book.
steering, you should be paying attention to what you're doing, right? You're still the driver. You're still in charge. So they have their latest version of their driver assistance that lets you take your hands off the wheel on the EV9.
Yeah.
Well, because we were on a track, we are going faster than the speed limit.
Right.
So they actually had us get up to, specifically, I don't know why it was this number, but it was 106 miles an hour. Set the cruise, set it so you stayed at 106 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And let the hands-free thing do its thing.
Oh, that must have been a little scary at 106.
Okay, so first you're listening, and then you have a little walkie-talkie sitting there. And it's like, okay, let's go. And you're kind of thinking like, what?
Wait, how fast now?
I'm sorry, what now? And you take your hands off, and we're each in our own car, and there's the guy in the lead.
How much gap between cars? Are you guys
There's
close
a
to each other?
decent amount of space.
It's not like a NASCAR,
No, we're not. We're not like NASCAR. I'm not trying to hit anyone. No,
that'd be awesome.
No, it would not be. So we're driving.
Really show off the driver assist though.
Yes, it would. But you take your hands off and like you're hovering. I'm hovering so close to the steering wheel. I'm like, I don't trust it. And then after a few seconds, literally, I thought, you know what? I totally trust this. Like, it's really good. And the thing is, like, when you're going fast like that, like we weren't weaving in and out of cones. It was in like sort of like an oval track situation. But still, to go that fast and be confident and not feel like the car is like ping-ponging to keep lanes or going too close left or too close right. It was really impressive.
Wow.
I thought it was really cool. So it's got some cool tech, right? It has the screens that make it look really good. It has the driver assist technology, the hands-free that is incredibly good. I mean, I've never done anything like that, like driven that fast with that car. I've driven with hands-free driver assistance, but like on a regular public street, you're not going 100 miles an hour on the highway here, but you can do it on a track because it's okay. It was really impressive. That, plus the fact that it does DC fast charging with 800 volts. Of course, the only problem with that is you can charge really fast with the EV9. You can get, I think it has up to about 300 miles of range, depending on the exact configuration you get. Yep. But the challenge is still not the car, but the network.
Right.
We're still having issues with the charger should be giving you this much, but it's only giving you that much. Yeah. And with many of them adopting the North American charging standard, which formerly was, Tesla chargers.
Standard,
they're going to be slowly going into all that. That means that all these vehicles, eventually one day, everyone's going to be able to use the Tesla network. That network is pretty solid. But, in the meantime, in between time, you're still dealing with a network that we have. And that's still the big challenge, is getting something that actually lets you charge that fast. But if I was looking for an EV and I wanted one for my whole family that was, not outrageously priced, that had great styling, it's really sharp on the outside. The lighting is super cool. They call it star map lighting, I think is what they call it. It's this kind of funky headlights. It looks really good. It's relatively affordable. It's comfortable. Second row has talking about lounging. It has like a little leg rest that pops up.
Oh, so it's kind of like a little mini ottoman?
Little mini ottoman thing that pops up. So when you're stopped, if you want to lounge, you can lounge with that. Or if you're like, to me, I'm like, when my kids were little and you're waiting for everything to come out of school, to come out of practice, to come out of band rehearsal, to come out of a friend's house, whatever, you just like lounge.
Yeah.
I'd like just fall asleep back there.
I don't know, man. It's you said it starts at $50K for 300 mile range, full electric, seats the whole family, go on a road trip. That's pretty awesome.
It's pretty cool. So awesome. I think it's something like a lot of people have been asking about it. There's been a lot of interest in it, and I think once the public gets their hands on it, they're going to love it. Hey, wait, did we just drive by a bakery? Okay, we went to a new breakfast place yesterday.
We did. Which did have a lot of baked goods.
It did have a lot of baked goods. It was called the Yolk Grill. Apparently, there's already one in another town near us, and they just opened one that's even closer. So now we went to try this out because we're big go out to breakfast people.
We are.
In fact, you want everyone to go out to breakfast at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
I
and
believe
sometimes
the way to really get the family moving in the morning is to lure them out with breakfast. Yes.
I don't always agree with this. On occasion, I would like not to get up early for breakfast, but breakfast is like the best meal.
It is the best meal.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like there's breakfast foods, there's lunch foods, there's dinner foods. You never really have dinner. Like dinner for breakfast is not a thing, but like if you want breakfast for dinner, it feels like you're like,
breakfast isn't really a time of day. It's just a mood.
You're breaking all the rules. You're like, I'm making myself pancakes at 6
having
o'clock
eggs,
at night.
scrambled eggs and bacon for dinner.
And you're like, feel so excited about it because you get to have breakfast for dinner. Like, I'm a grown up. I'm having breakfast for dinner.
Right.
But we had breakfast for breakfast. And one of the other things that makes breakfast cool is that the breakfast foods, standard breakfast foods, like you're not making something weird. You can eat the, quote, junk food that's a snack the rest of the day.
As
a donut
breakfast.
is a snack. A Danish is a snack. If it's breakfast, that's breakfast.
That's right.
You're allowed to have donuts and pastries and muffins, and then you can even...
Sugar is a dessert unless it's syrup on pancakes.
Right, somehow.
Which is cake for breakfast.
Somehow breakfast has gotten a pass, and you can eat absolutely horrible for you foods, and no one looks at you sideways.
But correct, that's right.
It's like, I'd like the stuffed French toast with syrup and strawberry sauce.
Yeah, could I have my toast covered in sugar and eggs, please?
Right? And that's allowable, which makes breakfast even more brilliant.
It does.
So the place we went to kicked it up a notch by having... Now, they're a breakfast lunch place. Like, they close at like 3. But I didn't see this the first time we went. We went yesterday, and I see this kid, and they bring him over. It was his meal. Mom ordered a reasonable...
I hope it was his meal.
It was, like the beer stein you get in a German restaurant?
Yes, like a giant mug.
Imagine a beer stein kind of thing. Turn it into a milkshake.
Yep.
But then you put the fixings on top.
Yeah.
Like, when you have the crazy Bloody Marys.
Yeah, think of the most insane Bloody Mary you've ever seen. Like with the celery and pizza and chicken and waffle stuck in a Bloody Mary. Like, that's what they did for this breakfast milkshake.
For this breakfast milkshake. Now, the milkshake is there's so much on it that I think they list them on the menu, but they have like in a little plexi thing.
Yeah.
Like 8x12 plexi stands.
And you can't really describe it.
They have a picture of it. So like they actually bring them over to the kids and they're like, which of these 3 do you want? And the kids look.
They're like, what?
And like, I like that one or I like that one. But like I looked at this kid's ice cream, his milkshake.
Whatever. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
It's got stuff all down the side and there's a million colored sprinkles. There's half a waffle. They're like on little sticks.
Yeah.
There's half a waffle in there. There's a ring pop.
Of course.
There's a donut. On top of the donut is a cookie and a scoop of ice cream.
Right.
There's a cupcake sticking out on a stick. Right. And then there's another one of those little like twisty lollipops shoved in there.
To be clear, 0 protein. And this kid's going to be bouncing off the walls all day.
I know. Like
as a parent, this is probably not a good life choice for your child.
Right? Like this is like a special occasion thing.
Exactly. This is like birthday kind of craziness, but it was amazing looking.
And then the funny thing is the kid couldn't eat the whole thing.
Because he's sane.
Because it was giant, right? But mom is eating her normal food and she does the mom thing. She takes the lollipop he didn't eat and wipes off the ice cream and that's going home, right?
Right.
But everything else is, of course, staying. But he had like a bite of some things. Like he didn't eat the whole donut or the whole cupcake. He took a couple bites. You try
There's a lot of
all of the sweet goodness that's in here.
Of course.
But he didn't eat the cookie. And apparently she thought he was done with the cookie. I don't know if you caught this.
Oh, I did not see this.
Mom ate the cookie.
Ooh, did the child see?
Child was not happy.
Oh,
like not throw a tantrum, not happy.
Yeah,
but literally I hadn't heard them. And he's like, you ate the cookie? I'm like, oh, and I had seen her eat it.
That kid had like 20 pounds of food. I think he could give up the cookie.
He did. And I didn't hear her response. Her response was kind of her back. She was like, I didn't tell you could eat the cookie. I was done with the cookie. And I'm thinking in my head, kid, you better watch yourself because in 2 minutes that will be the last fancy milkshake.
The crazier thing was that other table to the right of them, which had 2 very small children, like
there was
3
maybe
year
like
olds, 4 years old.
Maybe like a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old. I thought they ordered one.
I thought they were going to order one for each for the pair of them to share. They ordered one each. Huge error. I mean, no fighting. That's the good news.
No.
But that is so much freaking sugar.
There was so much.
I mean, it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I would probably do it with my kids in there. But the right call.
I watched the waitress. You took a picture. The waitress is walking because they put them on a plate.
Yeah, I don't know how she balanced it.
So you have them on a plate. Right. This giant ice cream, like milkshake monstrosity. And she walks out and we both look at her like, oh my God. And she has a look on her face like, please let me make it to the table.
Right.
Please let me make it to the And she did. She got all the way to the table.
It's not just the milkshakes. All their portions are huge.
Yeah.
And they have crazy ideas like churro pancakes, churro French toast, like all these crazy flavors.
Again, it goes to the idea that you're allowed to have anything.
Anything for breakfast.
There's nothing. Is there really anything? I mean, you can't even have dinners like chicken fried steak.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's steak.
Chicken and waffles is
and steak and eggs
breakfast
is a
or
thing
dinner
for
or
breakfast,
lunch, quite
right?
frankly. And that's, yeah, right.
So there's nothing. Is there food you can't have for breakfast?
No.
Is there anything?
Why would there be?
That's off limits as a breakfast food?
I don't think so. Because like nowadays you can get bagel breakfast sandwiches with pastrami on them and roast beef on them. So you're pretty much, I mean, like,
I don't
steak
think
and eggs is a thing. That's steak.
You can't. But I don't think it goes either way. If you ordered, unless you're in a diner, if you ordered like bacon, egg, and cheese on an English muffin at a dinner, people will be like, "What's wrong with you?"
I have ordered a hamburger for breakfast in Disney World. So just saying, I have done it.
Where did you do that?
Whispering Canyon.
Oh,
that
was a thing.
Their favorite
but did
burger.
Did it have an egg on it?
No. It's their normal lunch burger. You can get it for. So I mean, you can have anything for breakfast.
Okay. But I feel like people don't normally do that. You're on vacation in Disney World where everyone's crazy.
Well, people don't
doing
normally
weird
do
stuff.
that. But I'm just saying, like most, like
See,
this
but
place
that's
we
not
went.
normal. In Disney, it wasn't. It was normal because it was vacation.
It's unusual.
But
Even
if
in
you
Disney,
went
it's
to like
unusual.
the average place, like the average restaurant,
Correct.
nice restaurant, and you're like, I would like bacon and eggs for my
because
dinner.
they're trying to keep the cook staff sane.
I don't think it's
So they
that.
can prep their
cook staff
food.
sane.
It's like we got to prep every meal possible for all day long.
But like diners do that. And diners are the only place where they have like 24-hour diners. A lot of them you can get whatever you
well,
want.
the place we just had the same thing.
That's
you could get
the only
anything on lunch menu for breakfast.
Yeah, but they're only open till 3. So
True.
they have that they have that brunchy vibe thing happening. Yeah. But a diner you can
get
order
poutine for breakfast. We just talked about that last episode.
Yes, you can
get
even
poutine
get
for
that.
breakfast at this restaurant and at most diners.
On tater tots.
Oh yeah, they're tater tots.
They had tater tots.
Can I just say their tater tots were killer.
That's another good
Killer
thing. Tater tots are another thing that you can have like any meal of the day. Their breakfast food, their lunch food, their dinner food.
They are. Yeah, it's
foods
just
that can be served at all the meals are the best of foods, which is why breakfast is the best of meals.
Thanks for listening to The Road Reflected. To follow more of Nicole Wakeland's adventures, head on over to NicoleWakeland.com. There you'll find links to her social media from TikTok to Twitter, as well as her work across a wide range of media outlets. Until next time, keep it shiny side up.